She gave a thumbs up. She's right. All right, before I start, I just want to say thank you everybody for coming out. Judges, thank you guys. Parents, thank you. Miss Weddle's class, Mr. Travato, thank you guys for giving your time to watch all our hard work. My name is ELabelle, and today I'm going to be talking about ocean conservation, but it's more like Chesapeake Bay conservation. So before I start going into my presentation, I want to give you guys a little bit of background information about myself. I grew up on Grandview Island, which is a small island near Virginia Beach in Hampton Roads, Virginia. I grew up right on the beach. Every single summer, most of my time was spent on the beach, surfing, playing in the waves, just whatever I felt like. But as I grew up, I noticed that more and more trash was washing ashore, more and more dead animals were washing ashore. The beach was smelling worse and worse every year. And by the time that I moved out when I was around 10 years old, the beach wasn't recognizable from when I was born. Also, as a child, everybody gets asked this question: what do you want to be when you grew up? Most kids would say, I want to be a professional athlete, I want to be an astronaut. But when my grandma asked me that question, I told her, I don't know what I want to be. I just want to create things for other people to see. So I've always had a passion for creation, multimedia, that type of thing. So when I was 11 years old, I started my first YouTube channel. Ever since then, I've been making YouTube videos. Some of them I don't like to look back on, but they're all there. So this quote right here really, it emphasizes my project, but it's also something I take with me in my daily life. And I believe that it's something that everybody should take with them in their daily life. If you see a problem and you don't do anything about it, how do you expect it to get solved? We really need to take initiative, and we're not doing that in the Chesapeake Bay, which is showing some grim consequences. Right here, this is a picture of the beach that I grew up on. That's the Chesapeake Bay. The reason I decided to focus on the Chesapeake Bay was because of this. This is where I grew up. And I found some very concerning things. My goal when I started this research was to see the current conservation methods and if they were or were not working. Unfortunately, through my research, I found that most of them weren't as effective as they could be. And if we don't make these conservation methods more effective, then we face some grim consequences. As I'm sure we've all seen, the storms are getting stronger and stronger every single year. The economic viability of the bay is decreasing very fast, and the biodiversity of the bay is also decreasing. This biodiversity decrease is due to SAV, or submerged aquatic vegetation. Over the past 100 years, there's been a 29% loss of SAV density in the Chesapeake Bay, which leads to a lack of oxygen, so the fish can't breathe and they die. And then they wash ashore, and that's what I was seeing. If we don't do anything about it, this is just going to keep continuing. A large part of the conservation methods not working isn't because they're not designed right. It's because public opinion. People don't really think that the Chesapeake Bay, that this conservation is really worth it. They're not fully resolved to saving the bay, and that's why this isn't working. We need to get public opinion up to speed with the conservation methods. So when I went into my internship, I decided that I wanted to do something in technology. So I made a podcast. The podcast was not related to ocean conservation. It was a podcast about technology, the good and the bad and the in-between. I worked with Justin Mundy and Sophie Ashburn, and together we wrote, edited, produced, and recorded our own podcast. We worked with a school from London and a school from South Africa to create about a 30-minute long podcast that was posted on Nevertheless. And our mentor was Hugh Gary. Hugh Gary lived in London, and we live in Louisa. So throughout this podcast, we had to communicate effectively to coordinate times because we met once a week. Some days we would have snow or rain, whatever it was, and we wouldn't be in school. And we would have to let him know that because his time scale and our time scale are very important, but both of our times were very important to be able to meet and talk about. At the very beginning of the project, he told us that this was our podcast, and he really meant that. Every time we met, he would just encourage us the direction that we wanted to go, and he would constantly encourage that. He just gave us the basic tools and let us free. So I'm really thrilled with the way that the podcast turned out, and I'm thankful for his guidance. Right here, I guess you can't really see that. That is a still from the intro of my community service. It's not showing up too well, but it says, "Earth is not our own." That is the title of the video that I ended up making. I made this in order to promote conservation. When I started off with the idea of making a PSA, or public service announcement, based on student testimonials and events going on around Louisa. I worked for well over 20 hours collecting video, editing in Adobe Premiere, and putting it all together. And then I realized that I wasn't enjoying it, which was very worrisome to me, because when I've created videos in the past, I've never thought of it as a chore, and I was not enjoying this. I realized one night that I wasn't enjoying it, so nobody else would. So I threw that 20+ hours of work out the window and started over again. This video, unfortunately, I couldn't put it all in the PowerPoint because I'd love to show it off to you guys. I think you would enjoy it. But if you're interested in watching it, it is uploaded to my governor's school website, and I would really encourage it because I'm proud of it, and I hope that you guys would enjoy it. So personally, this project really did change my life. Throughout high school, I'm the kid that the teachers see as the procrastinator. The teachers would always tell me, "You can't procrastinate." And this project was really the one that showed me not to do that. I worked 20 to 30 hours a week. Most kids in this school are taking 4 classes a semester. Last semester, I was taking 5. And on top of that, I played soccer for another 10 to 15 hours a week. So I really had to learn time management and make sure that I was effectively managing that time so that I could get everything done, as well as keeping up to date with work and soccer. Also, probably the biggest impact for me is I got to know myself a little bit better. I was really confused at first why I wasn't enjoying making the video, but I realize now that creativity is something that I need in my life, and it needs to be creativity that I can enjoy. I can't just be creating videos or creating podcasts just because I was given something, a set of instructions. I have to create those for myself, and then if I create them for myself and I enjoy them, then I think everybody else will enjoy them as well. So for my future plans, I have 2 choices right now. The University of Mary Washington, which has been my dream school since 9th grade. It's located in Fredericksburg, and I really love it. They've given me good financial aid, so hopefully we can get a little bit more. Or Virginia Wesleyan, which is located in Norfolk, Virginia, so right where I grew up. They actually gave me a full tuition scholarship, so it's very competitive. But when I go to school, I'm thinking about majoring in philosophy with a pathway to pre-law because I'm interested in becoming a lawyer of some kind. Not sure which. I'd also like to extend a thanks to Miss King. She says she cares about her students, and she's shown that repeatedly throughout the course of the semester. Even outside of school, sometimes I've had to call or text her, and she would always get back to me right away. So I appreciate that. Another huge thanks to my mentors. And then Justin Mundy, he's been one of my best friends since 9th grade, and he's really helped me get through not just this year, but the entire high school experience. So I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of you guys. And now I will open it up for any questions. Yes. Well, the first video, like I was saying, was a PSA, or a public service announcement. That was just me going around and filming other people and them giving me their opinions. The second video, I actually wrote an entire script for it. So I'm sort of telling a story through this video, which I like a lot more. If I had to improve it, I would improve the vocals because I'm not sure I have the best storytelling voice. But I like the fact that I told the story over the PSA. Yes, sir. Conservation in the Chesapeake Bay. Like I said, the public opinion is the main factor in it. The conservation efforts themselves aren't working to their full extent because the public isn't really backing them fully. They could work a lot better, but people are still throwing their trash out. People are still taking 40-minute showers. People are still using fertilizer and letting it run off into the river that drains into the Chesapeake Bay. So, yeah, the Chesapeake Bay is extended all over Virginia and even other states. So people that live in Louisa could potentially impact the Chesapeake Bay if they dump their fertilizer in. They won't see the results, but the people that live near the bay, they really need to step up their game, I think, and get more and more awareness about the issue, because a lot of people in Louisa probably aren't really aware that what they can do can actually affect the Chesapeake Bay. So. Chesapeake Bay or the Potomac? York Rivership. Okay. Yes. Well, that video is uploaded to both YouTube and to my website, so people can go on and see that whenever they need to do. I think that I made that video pretty well. I've shared it with a bunch of my friends. I've had some positive feedback about it, and I've shared it with my mentors, my teachers. My goal is, like all online things, if you like something, you can give it a like, you can share it with other people. So that was my legacy. I'm never taking that down. Hopefully, more and more people can see it as the years go on. Already, there's been about 150 people to see it. So I'm hoping that it gets more and more exposure. If you're interested, you could give me your email address and I could send it to you after the presentations are over. I would love for you to get to see it.